Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here to make a point which I should think would be obvious, but I think it's worth making, which is that criticism is art too. Yes, it is. It is a creative act, a creative endeavor. And, the reason that I'm bringing this up now is because I got another one of these fabulously hostile comments, which I really enjoy addressing because, they're worth talking about. A lot of people have similar ideas, even if they don't express themselves with such nastiness. Here is the comment in question. It was on my video about Max Richter's horrible perversion of Vivaldi's The Four Seasons and the parasitical nature of some of these composers who just take some pre-existing material and revamp it according to their own taste. And some of it's very good. Some of it's wonderful, don't get me wrong. It really is. Some of it's absolutely grotesque. And, it's my job to tell the difference, or at least suggest an opinion so that you all can figure it out for yourselves. Anyway, this guy apparently likes Richter, and he wrote, "I have heard of Vivaldi. I have heard of Max Richter. I enjoy the works of both. Who the F is David Hurwitz, and what has he created? Who are you to cast judgment on those that create?" Oh my goodness. That's such a stupid comment. Really. Everybody casts judgment on those that create. In fact, that's why they create, to offer what they create to the world at large and let the world cast judgment. And sometimes the judgments will be favorable and sometimes they will be unfavorable. And that's really the only thing we need to say about the judgment end of it, isn't it? Because we all have a right to cast judgment. I'm a creator. People have a right to cast judgment on what I create. But the question, who am I and what have I created? Well, obviously the guy's an ignoramus because he doesn't know what I created, at least about me. But what have I created? I've created 4,200 videos in the past 4 years, or 4,300 now, or something like that. I created ClassicsToday.com since 1999, and I've written about 10,000 of the reviews that are on that site. Since I began my career as a critic, I've written tens of thousands of articles and record reviews and thought pieces in magazines the world over. I've written scholarly articles that have appeared in peer-reviewed journals on performance practice. I've been busy. And the truth of the matter is, and I'm not saying this to be arrogant or to blow my own horn, but I've created vastly more so far in my lifetime than most composers did. I really did. I really have. Just in terms of the objective quantity of stuff, So I'm not really too concerned about what have I created, but I do want to make the point that, writing criticism is a literary form. Literature is art. And when you write good criticism, when you know what you're doing, I hope I know what I'm doing, when you think and develop ideas, then you are creating. And you are creating maybe it's not epic art. It may not be great art, but it's art. It certainly is. That's how I think of it. I think of writing my books as art. I think of doing these videos as art. Doing these videos is a performance. It's performance. Performance is a type of art. And so, I really get a little bit annoyed, I have to say, when people denigrate the creative act of criticism. And I think you can understand why. We still read criticism that's well done, that's well made. We still read Bernard Shaw. We still read Hanslick, The Beautiful in Music. We read a lot, even though they're as wrong as can be. Bernard Shaw, from a musical point of view, was a terrible critic. Absolutely terrible. But he was a literary artist. No question about it. I'm not putting myself on the level of Shaw. That's not for me to decide. All that creators can do is create and hope that what they create, some of what they create will endure, and that others will look at it and enjoy it or take some sort of whatever we take from people who create things, right? From their creations. Sometimes emotional satisfaction, intellectual satisfaction, educational benefits. All of those things come from the act of creation. And the act of creation is, in its way, if it's done in a way which has style, substance, some sort of point of view, some sort of characteristics that aren't generally shared by the universe at large, then you might come to call that act of creation art. And the irony in this whole thing is that a lot of the people who come at us critics and scream at us about criticizing someone they like, is that the someone that they like is usually not Vivaldi or Max Richter. It's usually some performer. And performers don't create anything. Performers are recreative artists 99.9% of the time. Some of them actually are also composers. Some of them write their own stuff. Some of them add things. Who knows? They do all kinds of stuff. But the reality is that most performers are recreative performers in the classical music field, not in the pop music field as much. And so to criticize a creator who is taking issue with something done by a recreative artist is just the height of hypocrisy, isn't it? I mean, isn't it absolutely ridiculous? It's just absurd. And it's funny. It's just funny. I'm amused when this stuff happens because it does all the time. I mean, people get annoyed because something or somebody that they like is being criticized adversely, and they dislike the fact that adverse criticism exists. But the most essential hypocrisy at the heart of it is that, for example, this person in question is taking offense at the fact that I criticize somebody else, his basis being, who am I to make a judgment on those that create? And that's exactly what he's doing. He's making a judgment on those that create, the creator in question being me. And so, and the irony of it, I mean, it's always true, is these people have no sense of irony whatsoever. They take themselves so seriously. They're so sanctimonious. They get up on their high horse and point the finger and say, oh, goodness, how dare you? Well, I mean, if it applies to me, it applies to them equally. How dare they? We all have the right to make judgments. And some people express those judgments in an artful way. And those who do that create art. It's really, really very simple. And criticism is such a debased profession now. It really is, because people think wrongly that criticism is simply a question of rendering an opinion or making a judgment. But that's not true. It's how you render the judgment. It's what the basis is for the judgment. It's what stylistic and creative means you bring to bear in rendering the judgment so that you entertain and enlighten others. I mean, the whole point of creation, remember, is you. It's the people out there who are going to be the ultimate arbiters of how successful as art the creation is. So that's about it. I mean, I just wanted to raise that issue and respond to that comment because, some of these things really are just so whoppingly foolish. But I know that they're shared, and I really believe that the profession of critic needs to be defended because it's so in the doldrums these days. I mean, it's just not regarded as something that's important. And the important thing is not that I'm right or that my judgments are correct. It's that I stimulate a dialogue about music, about the subject in question, that there's a conversation that starts to happen, that people get angry, that they get excited, that they get, that they begin to think about it in a way that they might not have before. And in a sense, that's what all art does for us, doesn't it? It projects a certain way of looking at the world, a certain opinion, a certain point of view, a certain affect, and we respond to it. We each respond to it in our own personal way. So this response I'm happy about, frankly. I mean, it shows that I'm doing my job, that somebody got angry. They got all huffed up. But, if you're going to get angry and get huffed up, at least be smart about it. I mean, good heavens, that was just such silliness. Part and parcel, it comes with the territory. It's part of the job. So thank you so much for joining me and participating in this artistic endeavor, which I call criticism. Keep on listening, friends. Take care.